The Republicans get to issue a response to these kind of speeches, and they did, in which they had this chap here, Tim Scott. And as you can see, conservative Dinesh D'Souza bringing up his explosive Democrat race narrative. So he gives a response to all of this, in which he accuses the Democrats of using race as a weapon.
But just before we go into this is the problem, right? Why are you talking about the race narrative? That's literally like 2 minutes of Biden's speech.
Well, this was all pre-prepared, so right. I don't think it's direct response. It's they plan this and then they release it afterwards. But so this is just the section of his speech that I find the most interesting. So let's play this.
Nowhere do we need common ground more desperately than in our discussions of race. I have experienced the pain of discrimination. I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around a store while I'm shopping. I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. When America comes together, we've made tremendous progress, but powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination, and it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
That's a good response, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything there. As I say, pre-approved to go about what he thought the speech was going to be.
Yeah.
I didn't think anyone expected Biden to come out and be like, hey, the government is the people, but good God. So he's going after them on the fact that they try and heavily push race as a weapon to fight the Republicans with.
But it's good
totally
that he
true.
approached it in a moral dimension. You know it's wrong. You do know it's wrong. It is wrong to be racially
This white
profiling.
kid is applying for a job, therefore we're not going to give it to him because he's white. You know that's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give me any BS about representation.
Yeah, historic oppression or anything like this. It's just wrong to do that.
This kid born in the year 2000, he's guilty of Jim Crow. Yeah, it's BS. And he then goes on to argue about the Georgia voting law that's been passed and saying it's actually still easier than New York. And the White House had denounced that bill as being worse than Jim Crow for him saying that you need ID to vote. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this is worse than literal laws preventing you, black people, from doing things. That's worse, is it?
Rosa Parks was exaggerating, I guess, is the White House's position.
This Jim Crow's bad, but at least I don't have to get an ID to vote.
Oh, God. Anyway, so you can see this chap here, he's very proud of the fact that they've managed to get critical race theory on the mainstream. The fact that they're pointing out that this ideology is bloody evil, and it certainly is, certainly agree with that. And we'll get into the fact that the Democrats agree that that's the case at this point now, or at least the strategists do in a minute. So the response to this was that this is, pretty good. If we can get the next one up, so you can see the press reporting on this speech was also kind of down the line, because, I mean, there wasn't much way of attacking it, so just saying that he suggests that Dems use race as a political weapon. Well, he didn't suggest.
Not exactly a hot take, that, is it?
They did. Like they do.
But that's not exactly a hot take, and not something we really need to spend much time substantiating, because it's like 90% of our content.
But the point I was getting at there was just that the media response, which I saw, was largely just, I don't want to engage with this, because we know we can't win that battle.
Black guys calling us a bunch of racists, and we resemble that remark. So
yeah. So what do they do instead? So what do the Twitter activists do instead? Well, they decide to get Uncle Tim trending. I'm not joking.
Oh my God!
Yeah, trending in the United States, Uncle Tim.
Oh my God! Well done for proving his point. Well done for proving his point.
Could not have proved it faster.
Yeah, exactly. There is. I mean, you may as well have just called him the N-word. That would have just been quicker. Get the N-word trending on Twitter, because that would have been just as impactful.
I mean, in his speech, they call me an Uncle Tom and the N-word. Progressives are like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yes, we do.
So let's just get the next one up. So I just put together a bunch of check marks. So this is one check mark, so it's just Uncle Tim.
Just like, who's this Negro speaking out of line? That's their opinion. That's the
Democrat opinion.
Oh God.
Good God. So the next one, if we get the next one up. There's this guy saying, I'd totally be unsurprised to learn that Stephen Miller wrote that BS speech for Uncle Tim.
Oh, yeah, Stephen Miller would be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be racist, guys. And you're like,
Oh boy, but just openly using the phrase. Good God. So yeah, get the next one. So this is some guy, Tim Scott, complained about being called an Uncle Tom, and then 60 seconds later said America is not a racist country.
Well, he was wrong, wasn't he?
You're kind of proving his point here. Oh boy, so that's good.
I love it. Like he's like, America isn't a racist country, and the Democrats are like, yes, we are.
We'll prove it, buddy. But he's also just like, all the racism comes from the left in this country, and they're just like, yep. So
when hasn't it?
This has got to be my favorite response here. How can calling Tim Scott Uncle Tim be racist when he just told everyone that that the United States isn't a racist country? It's like, yeah, I mean, maybe he's wrong. Maybe half the country is racist. He's like, I get called Uncle Tom, and you're like, yes, you are an Uncle Tim.
Unreal.
I mean, the level of self-awareness.
Like, literally, he's like, this isn't a racist country, and like, literally, we don't agree because we're racists. Like that's her response.
Like progressivism to the rescue, to bring the racism to the party.
Yeah, sorry, if we're not included, then you might not be racist. So we want representation.
Oh boy, and there's someone pointing out in the next one here that when you look up Tim Scott, suddenly it becomes Stormfront on Twitter. So if we can go there, so the first one is just him calling him a clown, which is not great. But let's go to the next.
Okay, that's fine. There's nothing. That's
his
fine.
ancestors should be ashamed of him.
That's fine.
Yikes.
That's fine. That's not racist. You can call someone a clown, say that your ancestors are ashamed. That's fine.
I mean, it's a little bit like you're a race traitor. But,
no. I don't agree. I don't agree that you're a race traitor. You could replace that with anyone.
Don't worry, I've got a better example later.
So
let's go to the next image. Just to the next image. So this guy here, Scott Nevis, Senator Tim Scott, is Uncle Tomming for his life. So sad. South Carolina should be ashamed.
Oh, good.
And,
white man, come and put the black man in his place because he's chosen the wrong one. Clearly,
he's the only checkmark I've seen that's apologized for this. So I've been like, I messed up.
He's white, isn't he?
Let's go to the next link, which is just him apologizing. Tonight, I tried to do an ironic joke about Senator Tim Scott by using the term Uncle Tom in his rebuttal. Whilst I was shocked by his lack of self-awareness, I should not have used the term myself, even in reference.
You're too white to use the term Uncle Tom. That's what it is.
But if you go to the next one, people are pointing out, this isn't the first time you used this, buddy. Like, you use this all the time. So when Ben Carson gives a speech on anything ever, you're just like, Uncle Tom.
Oh my God.
Let's go through the images just so you can see. Like, this isn't just a one-off. Like, some other guy is calling Uncle Tom for not taking the knee. We go to the next one. Ben Carson again, giving a speech about something. He's an Uncle Tom. Ben Carson again. So whenever Ben Carson speaks, he's an Uncle Tom, and you were fine with doing that. But now you're being called out on Tim Scott. You're like, no, please, I'm not the racist.
I mean, this extremely pasty-looking guy is just shouting racial slurs at black people on Twitter, and I mean, I guess that actually does undermine Tim's case.
Oh, I mean, could this Tim Scott guy be proved faster? Anyhow, like I say, I don't really know about anything about Tim Scott, the individual, so don't if he's a bad Republican senator or something. But I don't really care because in this instance, it's...
Well, I've heard he's an Uncle Tom. I mean,
that's all I've heard so far. That's the progressive description.
God, that is just so awful.
Yeah,
so awful.
Then the next one, this is my example of this guy calling him a race traitor. So Tim Scott does not represent black people. Tim Scott represents a quote: "If you can't beat 'em, join 'em." Ages-old trope of black person that bows down gleefully to the white supremacy for self-interest while eschewing the plight for cultural shift inclusivity of all black Americans. I mean, just you are a race traitor. You're siding with whitey and the white supremacists here.
That is so
oh boy. Yeah, and there's no shortage of these. Like, these are just a bunch of check marks I found.
Wow.
I mean, again, they're proud of it. They've got a check mark in their account. This is definitely me, and I'm going to say it.
I mean, I suppose after all of these years, are we surprised to find the Democrat Party's full of racists? I mean, where haven't they been? What era are we looking at?
Pick a decade. Anyway, so the next thing here I just want to show is Tim Scott's been talking about this for a little while. So this is like a month ago. He said that woke supremacy is as bad as white supremacy. And,
it's exactly the same.
In response, he had the same response that he had to this speech, which is people accusing him of being some kind of... I feel bad for the guy. He can't say anything about race before being called a race traitor. So we go to the Washington Post opinion piece here. Diversity matters, but actions and values just as much. They say in here, they are living proof, the guys who are black Republicans, neither racial nor gender diversity is a guarantor of progressive, inclusive, and broad-minded thinking. Diversity, much in vogue, has its limits. I mean, the fact that they're brown and women doesn't mean they're progressives.
Diversity has its limits.
Yeah.
As in, the black people who don't agree with us are no longer diverse.
Know your limits. Stop thinking.
But they're not diverse. They're defined... The limit of diversity stops at black people who don't agree with us. Now you're outside, you Uncle Tom. Like,
Jesus
this is genuine, like old school left-wing racism.
Yeah, and it's in a major newspaper. Like, what the heck?
It's the Washington Post. I mean, it's all over the verified checkbox. Uncle Tom, Uncle Tom. Yeah, he's not diverse.
Yeah. The last thing I just wanted to mention here is he actually wrote an opinion piece in response to this, again, on the Washington Post, which is really funny. They settled for him being able to do this. So he wrote down that they were accusing him of being neither racial or gender diversity guarantor because he's not progressive. And they respond by saying, that is woke supremacy.
Yeah.
It is the tolerant left's intolerance for dissent.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go through the full thing here just for the sake of time, but he's totally right. He goes on to say things like the fact that it's not even a partisan issue. He mentions that he has a friend in the government who's a Democrat, and she'd received many death threats from progressives because she wouldn't use the right terms. And then he himself has had a, quote, woke black man be sentenced to a month in jail for threatening to gut him like a fish and blow me away with his rifle.
Jesus Christ.
Like, this progressive black guys are like, yeah, BLM, but also this guy, I'm going to gut him like a fish.
What do they think the KKK used to say to black people?
You couldn't ask for worse.
It's literally the same thing.
Yeah. There's a couple more things I want to say here, actually. So, woke, he says in here, woke culture is speeding our country towards ideological and literal segregation. Yes. Already, Columbia University has decided to host segregated graduation celebrations based on race or socioeconomic factors. Leaders of the woke movement are attempting to codify discrimination in law, including by Democrats setting aside funding exclusively for non-white farmers in their recent stimulus package.
Yep.
Yeah, totally true. And how horrible is that? I mean, I can't think of anything worse than the Democrats just openly saying, yeah, we're just going to give money to non-whites. Why? Because of their race.
Get back on the plantation.
But also, if you dare
Democrats
disagree,
2021.
I mean, I imagine that they're going to define black people in law now in the same way that their activists are, which is like, yes, people of color, except the people of color who go beyond their limits. Know your limits.
I mean, honestly, I can't get over this. I just can't get over this.
So that was the planned response. So, I mean, that was what they his speech that presumably he pre-scripted for the response to Biden's speech. And the response to that was just, Uncle Tom,
I just want to say, I would feel like such a bad person if that were my response. I would feel gross and disgusting. I want to go and have a shower.
I mean, it's the progressive version of just shouting the N-word.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's racism, America's not a racist country, we can work together. And all the Democrats sitting in their chairs being like, and then they just shout it.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.